The third and final event of the 2024 PFL playoffs is here this Friday, August 23rd, live from Washington, D.C., the nation's capital. We will see the final two weight classes compete to get the final championship fights coming this November. It will feature the welterweights and the featherweights, and we will start with the main event of the evening, which is in the 145-pound division. The main event of this card will feature the number 1 seed Brendan Loughnane and the number 4 seed UFC veteran Kamaka III. First, for the number 1 seed Brendan Loughnane, he's the biggest storyline coming in because he is looking to become a 2-time PFL champion, dating back to 2022 when he ran the table, went 4-0, and finished Bubba Jenkins in that year's championship to become the $1 million prize winner. Now, in the 2023 season, the luck didn't quite go in the favor of Brendan Loughnane. He started out with a finish of Marlon Moraes last April, but then got stopped in his second bout of the regular season by Jesus Pinedo, who went on to be the underdog of 2023 for the PFL and take the championship for this featherweight division. But he has since righted the wrongs from last year by bouncing back in 2024 with 2 victories, 2 TKOs, the first in the first round against Bellator veteran Pedro Carvalho, and the second against Justin Gonzalez in the second round, another Bellator veteran. It's safe to say that Brendan is one of, if not the current face of the PFL right now. Now, of course, we know that Francis Ngannou has signed to make his debut later on this year in October against Renan Ferreira. You could make an argument that the winner of that will be the true face of the PFL. If you ask me, I think the current face of the PFL is actually Dakota Ditcheva, especially if she wins come November. But if you're the PFL, that's a good problem to have, right? You have 4 people that can be the face of your organization. That is a very, very good sign for their future. Brendan is still just 34 years old, even with a plethora of fights. This will be his 34th professional bout come Friday. He is 28-5 with 17 finishes. 16 of those finishes are by way of knockout. He is a dangerous, lethal striker when the fights play out on the feet. He will have to survive the barrage from Kamaka and then look to put him away. Kamaka's last fight in the UFC was July 31st of 2021, a fight that went the full 15 minutes, and it was a majority draw against Danny Chavez. But since then, Kamaka has went 6-1 between Bellator and the PFL, including a 2-0 start to his Professional Fighters League career, a decision victory over Bubba Jenkins, and a decision victory over Pedro Carvalho. As a matter of fact, he's went the distance in 4 straight fights, someone that does not get tired and someone that has the dog in them, because in his career that spans 20 professional fights, he has gone the distance 16 times and went 12-3 in those fights with the aforementioned draw. He can get victories when the fights go the full 15. That could be a problem for Brendan Loughnane. Now, to Brendan's credit, he's went the distance quite a bit as well, 15 total times in his career with a record of 11-4. You may be wondering, why are you even talking about this? Is this really an important factor? I believe it is, because when you have 2 guys that do not get tired, something's got to give, whether it be the striking discrepancies. Could it be the grappling get brought out by Kamaka since he may not be able to compete on the feet? Brendan is a sniper in there, in the clinch, at range, with the dirty boxing. He can get the job done in any facet on the feet, not to mention his deadly leg kicks that finished Marlon Moraes last year. This has potential to be one of the better fights of the entire 2024 calendar for the PFL, and the winner will get their spot in the championship fight come November, and they will face the winner of this next bout. And that will be between the 2 seed Gabriel Braga and the 3 seed Timur Khizriev. The 26-year-old Gabriel Braga has been on a tear since joining the PFL in March of 2023. He did fantastic last year, made it all the way to the championship fights. Let us not forget, it was a 5-fight year for him because much like Impa Kasanganay, he was a Challenger Series debutante and veteran that won a contract to fight in the PFL. And as I said, he made it to the championship, but I already told you who the winner of the 145-pound division was last year. The underdog, Jesus Pinedo. Jesus finished Gabriel Braga in the third round, and that is the only loss on Braga's professional career as he comes into this one against Timur 14-1. He finished Justin Gonzalez in April in the first round and then got a TKO via arm injury against Bubba Jenkins in June in the second round. And if you look at last year, yes, he may have lost to Jesus Pinedo in the championship, but he beat him in the very first regular season matchup last April, then beat Marlon Moraes, then beat Chris Wade. He has a plethora of very good competition in the PFL. And his opponent, the 3-seed, 28-year-old undefeated Timur Khizriev, is on a tear in his own right. He went 3-0 during his time in Bellator. He's 2-0 now in the PFL with victories over Brett Johns and Enrique Barzola. He is 16-0, never been beaten. Now, only 4 finishes in that time, but 12-0 when fights go the full 15 and or 25. And while these two have a combined record of 30-1, both haven't even reached their primes yet at 26 and 28. Timur Khizriev is a minus 400 plus favorite at the time of recording this, with Gabriel Braga on the comeback at plus 330. This should be a very high level fight, but the odds say it could be one-way traffic for Khizriev. So be sure to let me know in the comments below, will this be the second PFL championship for Brendan Loughnane? Will Gabriel Braga make right from last year's championship and win it this year? Or will the undefeated Timur Khizriev look to remain perfect and earn his crack to become a PFL champion? And from the featherweights, we will now move to the welterweight division next. This will feature the 1-seed Shamil Musaev versus the 4-seed Murad Ramazanov and the 2-seed Magomed Umalatov versus the 5-seed, yes, you heard it right, a replacement, Neiman Gracie. Now, you heard me talk about a 16-0 undefeated featherweight Timur Khizriev, but now we have a 16-0 undefeated welterweight in Magomed Umalatov. But separating himself from his Russian counterpart, Umalatov is 32 years old, a little bit the elder, and has a lot more experience putting away his opponents. Out of his 16 victories, 13 of them have come by way of stoppage. Umalatov made his PFL debut back in 2021, and he is a perfect 7-0 in the organization since then, and he had a great year in 2021 and in 2023. Neither of them saw him make it to the championship, however. He even had a playoff berth in 2021, but I can't remember if it was injuries, illnesses, or some other outside circumstances that kept him from actually furthering himself in the seasons. But now he has that opportunity. He started the 2024 campaign with a decision over Andrei Korshkov, and in his second fight got a submission in the first round over Brennan Ward. Magomed is very dangerous and very well versed. Neiman Gracie, on the other hand, well, the last name speaks for itself. The 35-year-old Neiman Gracie hasn't been on the best stretch of things during his last 5 fights, losing 3 of them, but he did win his most recent PFL fight. He had a decision over Don Mage. Now, in his first fight back in April, he lost the decision to Gochi Yamauchi, but he earns the spot here, coming in as a short notice replacement. He gets an opportunity to play spoiler big time, becoming a big underdog, upsetting the undefeated Magomed Umalatov, and putting himself for the opportunity to fight for $1 million. And if you aren't familiar, let us go back to February of 2022 when Neiman Gracie and Logan Storley went the full 25 minutes in a back-and-forth war, probably the best fight for Bellator during that calendar year, and one of the most action-packed MMA fights in general throughout that calendar year as well. And I say that because the undefeated Umalatov is a whopping minus 3,200 favorite with Gracie as the underdog at plus 1,400. Oh my goodness. And I guess the theme of this PFL card is 16-0 undefeated Russian mixed martial artist, because the other fight in this welterweight division will feature the 16-0 Shamil Musaev. Now, I guess to be fair, he does have a draw, so he's 16-0 and 1, but regardless, undefeated and has the same amount of finishes as Magomed Umalatov, 11 knockouts and 2 submissions. The 30-year-old Musaev is a multi-fight veteran of KSW and 2-0 so far this season, with finishes over Logan Storley and Murad Ramazanov. And yes, he may have just finished Murad, but that's his opponent here again, because Murad is 12-1, meaning he was undefeated up until losing to Shamil Musaev in June. He's 12-1 with 8 finishes to his name, 28 years old, and again from Russia. The Russian mixed martial arts talent is taking over this PFL card in Washington, D.C., but only so many of them can make it to the championship fights. And for Murad, he is a longtime one championship veteran. He debuted there in 2020 and had 5 fights in total in that promotion. 4 fights, excuse me. He's 1-1 in the PFL cage. He got a victory in the first round over Laureano Staropoli back in April that earned him 6 points and enough to crack into this playoff spot here. And so could this be the biggest storyline of the entire weekend, because it is elite level Russian mixed martial artists paired up with one another for the second straight time. This time Murad will look to hand Shamil Musaev his first ever loss, get revenge for getting his first loss handed to him by Shamil. And if he can do that, he earns a spot into the PFL championships and a shot to become $1 million richer. So give me all of your thoughts on this third and final event of the PFL playoffs for 2024. Who will go to the championships at the 145-pound weight class, and who will make it in the 170-pound welterweight division as well? If you enjoyed this PFL preview, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Every week you can expect me to break down the biggest fights, what is at stake, and the storylines going into every card. I recap the most meaningful results every single weekend, and I give my thoughts and opinions on MMA news and fight announcements. You can join the community on social media at the BAJ MMA and follow on your favorite audio listening platforms such as Spotify and Apple. Every Friday and Monday, podcast episodes release there. Enjoy all of the fights this weekend, and I will see you in the next video.